Welcome back, everyone. In this lesson, we're going to talk about static variables and static methods. Let's first start with static variables. Previously, we have learned about member variables or instance variables, and we learned that they belong to the object of the class currently being invoked. However, static variables belong to the class itself. Let's see an example of that. So here I have a class person. Let's create some attributes. And here I'll create a public static variable called number of people. Static variables are only initialized once. That means there's a single copy of that variable being shared to all instances of the class. And that's where the name static comes from. So let's create this variable called number of people. And let's initialize it to 0. Public. Other examples of static variables could be this person class belongs to a company and the company will never change and every single employee will share the name of the company. We could have something like a static variable called company name and set it to something. So things like that could be used for static variables. Things are going to be shared among all the instance variables. And now in my constructor, let's say int age param and string name param age param. And in here, I'm going to have a counter of how many instances I've created. So the number of people will keep track of how many persons or how many instances of this person class I've created so far. And this is a good example of something being a static variable because the number of people is not an information specific to the object, but it's more about the class. So we want the class to hold that information. And now, in my person test, we could write our static void main method. And I'll create 2 people. Person 1. Person 2. And now let's access the static variable. Like I mentioned before, static variables are members of the class. So we call it on the class. So system.out.println, the name of the class, person, and the name of the attribute that we want to access. And hopefully, every time the constructor is being called, the variable number of people is being incremented by 1. So we should expect to see 2 here. So let's go to my terminal. Java fun. Let's run Java C person test. And let's run Java person test. And hopefully we'll see 2. Nice. Let's add another person here. Let's say person 3, 15. Let's go back to the terminal. Let's run the compiler again. Oh, this is a mistake because we already have a variable named person 12 for some reason. Let's go back here. There we go. And now we see 3, right? So this number of people variable is being shared among all of our instances. Now we could also have static methods. Static methods also belong to the class. They're part of the class. So we could make this variable private instead and create a public static method called people count, and it will return the number of people. So notice that I'm accessing this private static attribute inside my static method. So that is allowed. However, you should be very careful of what you're calling inside of your static method. Static methods can only call other static methods. So let's say I have a public method here that is not static, it's just a regular public method that says get age, public int get age, and all it does is returns the age attribute or the age member variable. Well, if I try to call this getAge method, I will run into an error. I cannot call non-static methods inside of my static method. However, if this was another static method, let's say public static int or string hello, and I could return something like hello, then I'll be able to call hello in my static method. The main reason why we cannot call regular methods in static methods is that because static methods belong to the class, there's no instance that this method is being running on. So whenever we did something like in the last example, get age, and we return this.age, well, this refers to the object or to the current instance that this getAge method is being called on. Sorry, public int, like this, right? So we cannot call this getAge method instead of a static method because our static method has no idea of what object this age attribute is coming from, okay? So let's take this out and let's see if we could do something like, instead of calling person.number of people, now that it's private, we'll call people count in the class. Let's go to the terminal. No error, and let's run the file, the class. And we still get 3.